For decades, the name North Korea has conjured a very specific image: ballistic missiles, nuclear tests, and a reclusive, unpredictable regime. But while the world has been watching the sky for a flash of fire, a new front in this geopolitical war has already opened up, and it's fought in the dark, on a battlefield of code and data. North Korea isn't just building missiles anymore. They've become masters of cyber warfare, and their targets are no longer just banks or businesses. They're going after the digital heart of America. In the shadows, a silent war is being waged every single day. North Korean hackers, often operating under the guise of state-sponsored groups like Lazarus, have honed their skills not for ideology, but for survival. Their hacks on everything from the Bangladesh bank to movie studios have stolen billions, funding their weapons programs and keeping the regime afloat. But recently their attacks have become more sophisticated, more daring, and far more dangerous. They are no longer content with just theft. They are probing our defenses, testing our systems, and looking for a weakness in the very infrastructure that protects us. They are attempting to map out the digital nervous system of the United States military, learning its patterns, its vulnerabilities, its secrets. It's a terrifying game of cat and mouse, and the stakes just went to a whole new level. What if one of these attacks wasn't just about stealing money? What if a brilliant, meticulously planned cyber assault was designed to do something far worse? To trick the United States into believing a nuclear missile was inbound. It's a scenario that seems ripped from a Hollywood movie, but in the digital age, it is a very real and very present threat. Imagine this. A North Korean state-sponsored hacking group infiltrates a U.S. military satellite system. They don't steal data. They don't plant a virus. Instead, they upload a series of false signals, perfectly mimicking the trajectory of an incoming intercontinental ballistic missile. They create a ghost, a phantom threat that appears on our radar screens as a devastating, undeniable reality. The digital signal is flawless. It's clean, it's sharp, and it follows a trajectory from the Korean peninsula directly towards a major American city. The systems are screaming, the alarms are blaring, the automated threat assessment protocols are hitting all the red lights. This isn't a single blip or an isolated anomaly. It's a full-fledged, multi-layered digital fabrication designed to overwhelm every level of our warning system. The infiltration has been so deep and so precise that the false data is indistinguishable from the real thing. It's a perfect act of deception. The systems are telling the President of the United States that a nuclear missile, launched from a known hostile nation, is on its way. In that moment, the fate of the world rests on a single, terrifying question. Is the threat real? With only minutes to decide, leaders in the Pentagon and the White House are faced with a choice that no one ever wants to make. Do they launch a counterstrike, risking an all-out nuclear war based on a handful of digital signals, or do they wait and risk a devastating strike on American soil? This is no longer about deterrence. This is about a moment of terrifying, final clarity. The world is about to find out if human judgment can override a digital lie, or if the ultimate decision for our survival is now in the hands of the very machines we built to protect us. The countdown has begun, and every second counts. The moment the false missile trajectory appears on the screens at the Pentagon, a chain of command that has been rehearsed for decades is set into motion. The President is woken up. The National Security Advisor is on the line. The Secretary of Defense is scrambling to the command center. There is no time for a second thought. The protocol is clear, drilled into every commander since the Cold War. When faced with an undeniable nuclear first strike, a counterstrike must be immediate. The clock is ticking down to the moment a decision must be made: launch or wait. The intelligence is almost too perfect. The digital signatures match what U.S. analysts have identified as a new generation of North Korean ballistic missiles. The trajectory is undeniable, pointing directly at a major American city. All the data points, all the alarms, are screaming a single terrifying word: launch. The recommendation from the top brass is unanimous and unwavering. General Harrison, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, speaks with a voice of stone. "Mr. President, the data is confirmed. We have minutes to respond. We must retaliate now to preserve the nation's ability to strike back." His words hang heavy in the air, a final plea to follow the playbook. To hesitate is to surrender to the enemy's will. To wait is to risk millions of lives. But in a hidden corner of the command center, a small group of cyber analysts are working frantically. They've detected anomalies in the system. The signals are clean, too clean. There are no secondary traces, no telltale thermal exhaust plumes from satellite imagery, no radar echoes from independent systems. The digital packet is a flawless masterpiece of deception, created to fool the very systems designed to protect America. Dr. Anya Sharma, a lead cyber expert, shouts into a secured line, "Sir, this is a ghost. The code is too perfect. There's no debris signature, no atmospheric distortion. This is a hack, not a launch." But her voice is small, a lone beacon of doubt against a tidal wave of military protocol and confirmed data. The pressure on the president is immense. The fate of the world hangs in the balance as two realities collide. The cold, hard, military data screaming launch, and a small team of analysts screaming, "It's a fake." He looks at the countdown timer on the screen, the seconds bleeding away. He's faced with an impossible moral choice. He could trust the generals, follow the doctrine, and unleash a nuclear hellfire on an enemy that may not have even fired a shot. Or he could trust his gut and the whispers of a few young analysts, risking the complete annihilation of a major American population center. This is the ultimate test of 21st century warfare. It's not about who has the bigger army or the more powerful bomb. It's about who controls the information. It's about a game of deception on a global scale. And as the countdown timer on the screen ticks closer to zero, the world holds its breath. A single decision, made in a matter of minutes, will decide whether the most powerful nation on Earth retaliates against a ghost, potentially triggering a nuclear winter, or trusts its human instinct over the digital data, facing the risk of a devastating first strike. The countdown clock hits zero. The final decision has been made. But what happens next? The world holds its breath, waiting for the sky to light up with the flash of nuclear fire. The answer depends entirely on whether the president trusted the military doctrine or the whispers of a few cyber analysts. It all comes down to a choice that will forever be etched in history. Scenario A: the retaliation. If the decision was to launch, the consequences would be swift and unimaginable. ICBMs would streak across the sky, their targets a list of North Korean military sites and command centers. The world would be thrown into a state of panic, as alarms sound in every major capital. But the moment of triumph would turn to horror. Within minutes, intelligence would confirm what the analysts had suspected. No North Korean launch had ever occurred. The strikes were a retaliation against a ghost, a perfect digital lie. The world would be plunged into a new kind of hell. A nuclear conflict started not by aggression, but by deception. A war with a single tragic question at its core. What if we were wrong? In this scenario, the aftermath would be chaos. China, caught in the middle, would be forced to make a decision. Would they stand by their erratic ally or condemn the act? Regardless, they would see America's rashness as a sign of instability, a validation of their long-held belief that the U.S. is an unpredictable and dangerous force. The global order would collapse. Allies would question America's judgment. A nuclear winter would loom over a world that was tricked into destroying itself. Scenario B: the stand down. If the decision was to stand down, the next few moments would be a terrifying silence, a tense period of waiting for the real missile to arrive. The minutes would feel like hours. But then, as the designated impact time passed with no flash of light, a wave of relief would wash over the command center, quickly followed by a cold, searing anger. The threat was a lie. The US had just been subjected to the most sophisticated and dangerous psychological operation in history. The global fallout from this would be unprecedented. America would immediately expose the attack to the world, providing irrefutable proof of North Korea's deception. The United Nations Security Council would convene in an emergency session, not to debate a missile test, but to confront a new kind of warfare that nearly triggered a nuclear holocaust. The world would realize that the old rules of engagement no longer apply. A single hack can now be a weapon of mass destruction. This is where the story gets really complicated. For Beijing, this would be a moment of great triumph and great risk. On one hand, their chaotic ally has proven its ability to cripple American decision-making. On the other hand, it has created a global crisis that puts China's own stability at risk. China would be forced to either rein in North Korea with an iron fist or face a new, unpredictable world where digital provocations can lead to nuclear war. The global community would look to Beijing to act as a responsible power and handle its unruly neighbor. This would be their test. In the end, this red zone scenario isn't just about North Korea. It's about the very nature of conflict in the 21st century. It shows us that the biggest threats always come from massive tank battles or fighter jet dogfights. They can come from a single line of code, designed to exploit human fear and military doctrine. The old paradigms of deterrence and mutually assured destruction are now obsolete. We have entered a new era of digital deterrence, where a simple hack can be a more powerful weapon than a nuclear bomb. The world has changed forever, and the lines of what is war and what is peace have been blurred beyond recognition. And the only thing we know for sure is that the next time the alarms sound, we can't be sure what we're really looking at. The war is no longer fought on the battlefield. It's fought inside our heads.